It started innocently enough. My husband and I had decided to do a complete renovation of our home, and we hired a project manager to oversee the construction. His name was Joey, and he was attractive in a rugged sort of way. He had a muscular build from years of physical labor, with short-cropped brown hair and piercing blue eyes. As the renovations got underway, Joey spent a lot of time at our house. He was there to coordinate the various contractors, answer any questions we had, and keep things on schedule. I found myself drawn to him. There was just something about his confident demeanor that intrigued me. And as I got to know him better, I discovered that he also had a kind and compassionate side. Meanwhile, my relationship with my husband was going through a rough patch. We had been married for several years, but lately it seemed like we were drifting apart. Our conversations were filled with tension and resentment, and our once passionate love life had become routine and predictable. One day, as I was discussing some design ideas with Joey in the kitchen, he reached out to gently touch my arm. It was such a simple gesture, but it sent an electric shock through my body. I tried to ignore the fluttering in my stomach as we continued our conversation, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had just happened between us. From that moment on, I found myself looking for excuses to spend more time with Joey. Whether it was picking out paint colors or choosing fixtures for the bathroom, I always made sure to be around when he came by the house. And each time we interacted, the sexual tension between us grew stronger. I would catch him stealing glances at me when he thought I wasn't looking, or lingering just a little too long when he touched my hand. And every time our eyes met or our skin brushed against each other's, it felt like an invisible current was passing between us, igniting a fire that I couldn't ignore. One afternoon, I found myself alone with Joey in the master bedroom. The rest of the house was filled with the sounds of construction, but in that moment it felt like we were the only two people in the world. As we stood there discussing lighting options, I couldn't take it anymore. I reached out and grabbed his hand, pulling him towards me. "I can't fight this anymore," I whispered hoarsely. "I want you, Joey." He didn't say anything in response. Instead, he cupped my face in his hands and kissed me passionately. It was a kiss that left no doubt about our mutual desire for each other. Our tongues danced together, as our bodies pressed tightly against each other, and all of the pent-up sexual frustration from weeks of longing came pouring out. Joey's hands roamed over my body, tracing every curve and contour, as if he was committing each one to memory. He began to slowly undress me, peeling off layer after layer until I stood before him completely naked and exposed. And then he did something that no man had ever done before. He took his time exploring every inch of my body with his hands and lips. As he kissed his way down my neck and chest, his fingers teased and caressed my most sensitive areas. Each touch sent waves of pleasure coursing through me, building a relentless pressure between my legs that begged for release. And when he finally sank to his knees in front of me and buried his face in me, I thought I might lose all control. He was hitting all the right spots over and over again. My legs trembled uncontrollably as I clutched onto his shoulders for support, on the verge of an intense emotional outburst that threatened to consume my entire being. And just when I thought I couldn't take any more, he stood up and pulled me into his arms. Our bodies molded together in a perfect fit as slowly became one. I moaned softly in his ear as our bodies melded completely, the feeling of him and me overwhelming my senses. We moved together in a slow, sensual rhythm, our bodies perfectly attuned to each other's desires. With each movement, it was like he hit that magical spot deep within me, sending wave after wave of pleasure crashing over me. We were lost in a world of pure ecstasy, A place where nothing else mattered except for the two of us locked in this passionate embrace. And as the intensity of our lovemaking reached its peak, I dug my nails into his back and cried out his name as my emotional relief washed over me like a tidal wave. He held onto me tightly as he too succumbed to the overwhelming pleasure, shuddering against me as he made his way through his waves of pleasure. We collapsed onto the bed in a tangled heap of sweaty limbs and racing hearts. For a few precious moments, we simply lay there in silence, basking in the afterglow of our shared passion. But then reality came crashing back down around us. The sound of construction outside the bedroom door served as a stark reminder that what we had just done was reckless and dangerous. We hastily got dressed and tried to act casual when the rest of the crew returned from their lunch break. From that point on, Joey and I had to be careful about how we interacted with each other. There were stolen glances and secret touches when no one was looking, but we never allowed ourselves another moment alone together like that again. The renovations eventually came to an end, and Joey moved on to his next project. I haven't seen or spoken to him since that day in the master bedroom, but I think about him often. He came into my life at a time when I needed someone to make me feel desired and alive, and for that I will always be grateful. As for my husband and me, we managed to work through our issues and find our way back to each other. Our love life is no longer routine and predictable, in fact, it's better than ever. But every now and then, when the house is quiet and still, I catch myself thinking about the project manager, who turned my world upside down during a long overdue home renovation.